The people who effortlessly take control of their time know something that the rest of us are missing. It's not superhuman productivity skills, it's not perfect planning systems or magical time management apps, and it's definitely not what they teach in efficiency courses or productivity seminars. What they understand is something that turns the entire concept of time control on its head and makes what seems impossible suddenly inevitable. In the next few minutes, I'm going to share something that might sound impossible at first, but by the end, you'll understand why your current struggles with time might actually be your greatest gift for developing the kind of temporal mastery that transforms everything. Stay with me, because this changes everything about how you approach not just time management, but the very nature of how you experience life itself. The time trap. Have you ever noticed how the harder you try to control your time, the more out of control it feels? There's something happening beneath the surface that most of us miss because we're focused on scheduling and efficiency instead of understanding what actually creates the experience of having enough time. Picture this. Sunday evening arrives and you're filled with determination. This week will be different. You've planned every hour, color-coded your calendar, downloaded the latest productivity app, and created detailed to-do lists for each day. You've accounted for everything: work tasks, personal errands, exercise, meals, even buffer time for unexpected issues. Monday morning starts perfectly. You wake up on schedule, follow your morning routine, tackle your first priority with focus and energy. You feel like you finally cracked the code. This time, you're really in control of your time. Then, reality hits. A colleague drops an urgent project on your desk, your planned lunch break disappears into an unexpected meeting, traffic is worse than anticipated, your carefully crafted schedule starts falling apart piece by piece. And by Wednesday, you're back to feeling overwhelmed, behind, and like time is controlling you instead of the other way around. You blame yourself for poor planning. You think successful people must have some secret productivity system you haven't discovered yet. You download another app, read another book, try another method, but the cycle repeats. Initial organization followed by inevitable chaos, leaving you feeling like you'll never truly master your time. Here's what's really happening. You're treating time like an external resource to be managed and controlled, rather than an internal experience to be understood and aligned with. You're approaching it with what I call a scarcity mindset, believing there's never enough time and that you must squeeze maximum efficiency from every moment. I understand this struggle completely. We live in a culture obsessed with optimization and productivity. Every advertisement, every success story, every self-help guru promises that the right system will finally give you control over your time. So when our actual experience involves constant interruptions, competing priorities, and the feeling that we're always behind, we assume we're just not organized enough. But what if the problem isn't your lack of planning skills or your inability to stick to schedules? What if the problem is how we've been taught to think about time itself? Most of us approach time management backward. We focus on cramming more activities into our days instead of understanding what creates the subjective experience of having enough time. We try to control external circumstances instead of mastering our internal relationship with temporal flow.
The truth is, the feeling of being in control of your time has very little to do with perfect scheduling and everything to do with alignment. Alignment between your actions and your values, between your energy and your priorities, between your natural rhythms and your daily structure. Think about the times when you've lost track of time completely. Maybe during a fascinating conversation, an engaging creative project, or a meaningful experience with loved ones. In those moments, you weren't managing time at all, yet you felt completely present and satisfied. Time seemed abundant rather than scarce. What if taking control of your time worked more like that? What if instead of trying to force your life into rigid schedules, you could create the conditions where time feels naturally abundant and your most important priorities get the attention they deserve? When was the last time you asked yourself, what does it actually mean to control my time? Am I trying to manage every minute, or am I trying to ensure that my time serves my deepest values and priorities? These questions point towards something revolutionary, the possibility of temporal mastery that flows from inner alignment rather than external control. The breakthrough story. Let me tell you about Marcus, a successful architect who came to me completely burnt out from trying to manage his increasingly complex life. He had every productivity tool imaginable, multiple planning systems, and a schedule that was planned down to 15-minute increments, yet he felt more out of control than ever. "I spend more time planning my time than I do actually living," he told me during our first conversation. "I have systems for everything, but I'm constantly stressed, always behind, and I feel like I'm missing out on what actually matters to me." When I asked Marcus to walk me through a typical day, something fascinating emerged. His schedule was incredibly detailed and efficient, but it bore almost no relationship to his actual energy patterns, values, or what he genuinely cared about. He was optimizing for productivity rather than for fulfillment or meaning. Marcus would force himself to do his most creative architectural work during late afternoon when his mental energy was lowest, simply because that's when his schedule said creative work. He would rush through dinner with his family to get back to administrative tasks that could easily wait until the next day. He had allocated exactly 30 minutes for personal time on weekends, as if his own well-being was just another item to check off his list. "When did you last feel like you had enough time?" I asked him. Marcus paused for a long moment. "Actually," he said, slowly, "it was last month when I was working on a design that really excited me. I was in my studio for hours, but it felt like minutes. I wasn't watching the clock at all, but somehow I got more meaningful work done than I usually do in a week." That's when I realized what was happening. Marcus had confused time management with life management. He was treating his schedule as if it existed separately from who he was as a person, his natural rhythms, his deepest values, his unique way of creating and contributing. Over the following months, we completely reconstructed Marcus's approach to time. Instead of starting with tasks and trying to fit them into time slots, we started with his energy patterns and core values, then designed his schedule to support and amplify them. Marcus discovered that his most creative thinking happened in the early morning, when his mind was fresh and undisturbed. Instead of using this precious time for email and administrative tasks, he began protecting it fiercely for his most important architectural work. His productivity in this area doubled almost immediately. He learned to batch similar activities together, rather than constantly switching between different types of tasks. Email got handled twice a day, during specific windows instead of being a constant interruption. Phone calls were grouped into particular afternoons, when his social energy was naturally higher. Most importantly, Marcus stopped treating time as something to be filled and started treating it as something to be experienced. He began asking different questions. What deserves my best energy right now, instead of what's next on my list? How can I be fully present for this instead of how can I get through this faster? The transformation was remarkable. Marcus didn't suddenly get more hours in his day, but his experience of time completely shifted. He felt more present, more productive, and paradoxically, more relaxed. He was getting his most important work done while also having quality time with his family and space for personal interests. Most importantly, Marcus stopped feeling like time was his enemy and started experiencing it as a canvas for creating the life he actually wanted to live. This reveals something profound. Taking control of your time isn't about managing every minute. It's about ensuring that your time serves your highest priorities and allows you to show up as your best self in the areas that matter most. While most people try to control time through rigid scheduling and maximum efficiency, true mastery comes from aligning your use of time with your natural energy, core values, and deepest intentions. Think of how a river manages its flow. It doesn't try to control every drop of water or eliminate all obstacles in its path.
Instead, it finds the most natural course toward its destination, adapting to the terrain while maintaining its essential direction and power. This is what it means to truly control your time, not forcing every moment into predetermined boxes, but creating a natural flow that honors both your human limitations and your highest aspirations. The revolutionary understanding. Here's what transforms everything about time. The control you're seeking isn't about managing external time. It's about mastering your internal relationship with how time flows through your life. Most people think time control means having detailed schedules that account for every moment and the discipline to stick to those schedules no matter what. But what if I told you that this approach actually creates more stress and less satisfaction than having no system at all? When you try to control time externally through rigid scheduling, you're fighting against the natural rhythms of energy, creativity, and focus that make work feel effortless and life feel meaningful. You're treating yourself like a machine that should perform consistently, regardless of internal states or external circumstances.
But here's the revolutionary insight. Time isn't actually something you can control. It's something you can only experience. And the quality of that experience depends entirely on how aligned your actions are with your deepest values and natural rhythms. The people who seem to have mastered their time haven't learned to control every minute. They've learned to recognize what deserves their best attention and energy. And they've created structures that support giving that attention fully rather than spreading it thin across endless activities. This is why traditional time management often fails. It focuses on efficiency without considering effectiveness, on doing things right without asking whether they're the right things to do at all. It optimizes for busyness rather than for meaning, for getting through tasks rather than for creating value. True time mastery involves what researchers call temporal intelligence, the ability to recognize the appropriate timing for different types of activities and to align your actions with both your internal rhythms and your external priorities. This means understanding that your capacity for focused work, creative thinking, social interaction, and physical activity all fluctuate throughout the day and week. Instead of fighting these natural patterns, you can work with them to accomplish more with less effort while feeling more present and satisfied. It also means recognizing that not all time is created equal. An hour spent on something that deeply matters to you and utilizes your best energy will create more value and satisfaction than 3 hours spent on less important tasks when you're tired and distracted. But here's what most people miss. This isn't about becoming more selective or saying no to everything. It's about becoming more intentional, making conscious choices about how you invest your time and energy rather than simply reacting to whatever demands are placed on you. When you develop this kind of temporal intelligence, something remarkable happens. You stop feeling like time is scarce and start experiencing it as abundant. Not because you have more hours, but because the hours you have are filled with presence, purpose, and alignment rather than distraction, obligation, and resistance. While most people try to control time by cramming more into less, masters learn to control their experience of time by bringing more consciousness and intention to fewer, more meaningful activities. Like a master musician who creates beautiful music, not by playing more notes, but by playing the right notes with perfect timing and complete presence. You can create a beautiful life by bringing full attention to the activities that matter most rather than dividing your attention among countless urgent but unimportant tasks. This is what real-time control looks like, not managing every minute, but ensuring that your time serves your highest purposes and allows you to show up fully for what matters most. Foundation 1, awareness. Before you can take true control of your time, you need to develop crystal clear awareness of how you actually spend your time currently and what patterns are serving you versus draining you. Most people operate on autopilot, unaware of where their time and energy actually go each day. This foundation isn't about judgment or criticism. It's about gathering honest data about your current relationship with time so you can make informed decisions about how to improve it. Just as a doctor needs accurate diagnosis before prescribing treatment, you need accurate awareness before designing better systems.
Start by tracking your time for at least one full week without trying to change anything. Notice not just what you do, but how you feel while doing it. What activities give you energy versus drain it? When do you feel most focused and creative? When do you find yourself procrastinating or feeling resistant? Pay particular attention to the transitions between activities. How much time do you spend shifting from one task to another? How often do you get interrupted? And how long does it take to refocus afterward? What activities tend to expand beyond their intended time? And which ones do you rush through? Notice your internal dialogue about time throughout the day. Do you often feel rushed, behind, or like there's not enough time? Do you frequently check the clock or feel anxious about upcoming deadlines? Are you constantly trying to do multiple things simultaneously? This awareness phase often reveals surprising patterns. Many people discover they spend far more time on low-value activities than they realized, or that their energy peaks at different times than they assumed. Some find that they're most creative in the evening, but have been trying to force creative work into morning hours. Beyond daily patterns, examine your relationship with time on a deeper level. Do you see time as scarce or abundant? Do you feel like you're constantly racing against the clock, or do you experience periods of timeless flow? Do you associate being busy with being important, or do you value presence and depth over activity? Understanding your beliefs about time is crucial because these beliefs shape your experience more than any external system ever could. If you believe time is always scarce, you'll feel rushed even when you have plenty of time. If you believe productivity equals worth, you'll fill every moment with activity rather than allowing space for rest and reflection. Awareness also involves recognizing your natural energy rhythms and honoring them rather than fighting against them. Some people are naturally early risers who do their best work in the morning. Others are night owls who come alive in the evening. Some need frequent breaks and variety. Others prefer long stretches of focused work. There's no right or wrong pattern, only what works authentically for you. But most people try to force themselves into patterns that don't match their natural rhythms, then wonder why time management feels like such a struggle. This foundation takes patience and honest self-observation. You're not trying to fix anything yet. You're simply developing the awareness that will make all future changes more effective and sustainable. The goal is to understand yourself so deeply that you can design time structures that feel supportive rather than constraining, natural rather than forced. Foundation 2. Alignment. Once you understand how you currently relate to time, the next foundation involves aligning your use of time with your deepest values and most important priorities. This is where most people skip ahead to tactics and systems, but without this alignment, no system will create lasting satisfaction. Alignment begins with getting clear about what actually matters to you. Not what you think should matter, not what others expect to matter, but what genuinely creates meaning and fulfillment in your life. These core values become the criteria for making decisions about how to invest your time. Most people have never done this deep work of clarifying their values, so they make time decisions based on urgency, social pressure, or habit, rather than importance and meaning. They end up incredibly busy but not particularly fulfilled, efficient but not effective. Take time to identify the 3 to 5 areas of life that are most important to you. This might include family relationships, meaningful work, health and vitality, creative expression, spiritual growth, or contribution to community. Be specific about what each area means to you and why it matters. Then honestly assess how your current time allocation aligns with these priorities. Are you spending the most time on what matters most? Are your most important values getting your best energy? Or are they getting whatever is left over after urgent tasks? This assessment often reveals significant misalignments. Someone who values family connection might discover they're spending more time on social media than with their loved ones. Someone who values health might realize they consistently sacrifice sleep and exercise for work tasks that could easily wait. Alignment also involves understanding the difference between urgent and important. Urgent tasks demand immediate attention, but may not contribute to your long-term goals or values. Important tasks
move you toward what matters most, but often lack artificial deadlines or external pressure. Most people spend the majority of their time on urgent but unimportant activities, leaving little space for important but non-urgent investments like relationship building, skill development, health maintenance, or creative projects. Learning to prioritize importance over urgency is perhaps the most powerful shift you can make in taking control of your time. This means protecting time for activities that serve your core values, even when they don't have pressing deadlines. Another aspect of alignment involves matching your energy to your priorities. Your most important work deserves your best energy, not whatever is left over after you've handled emails, meetings, and administrative tasks. If relationship connection is a core value, have meaningful conversations when you're present and engaged, rather than when you're tired and distracted. If creative work matters to you, protect your most creative hours for that work, rather than using them for routine tasks. This requires saying no to many good opportunities, so you can say yes to what's great. It means disappointing some people so you can fully serve what matters most. It means accepting that you can't do everything so you can do the most important things excellently.
Alignment isn't a one-time decision, but an ongoing practice of checking whether your time choices are serving your deepest intentions or just responding to external pressures and expectations. Foundation 3. Architecture. With awareness and alignment as your foundation, you can now create time architecture that supports your priorities while working with your natural rhythms rather than against them. This isn't about rigid scheduling, but about designing flexible structures that make your best work feel effortless. Time architecture begins with understanding that different types of activities require different mental and emotional states. Creative work needs uninterrupted focus and mental freshness. Administrative tasks can be batched together during lower energy periods. Social interactions require emotional availability and presence. Instead of randomly mixing these different types of activities throughout your day, you can group similar activities together and schedule them during times when you naturally have the appropriate energy and mindset. Create what I call time containers, dedicated periods for specific types of work that honor both the nature of the activity and your natural rhythms. A time container for deep work might be 2 uninterrupted hours during your peak mental energy. A container for administrative tasks can be a focused 45-minute session when your energy is moderate but steady. The key is protecting these containers from interruption and context switching. When you're in a deep work container, emails and phone calls wait. When you're in a relationship container, work thoughts are gently set aside. This single focus approach dramatically improves both the quality of your work and your satisfaction with how you spend time. Architecture also involves creating what researchers call buffer zones, small amounts of unscheduled time between major activities that allow for transitions, unexpected delays, or simply breathing room. Most people schedule themselves so tightly that any deviation creates stress and a feeling of being behind. Buffer zones prevent the domino effect, where one delayed activity throws off your entire day. They also create space for presence rather than constantly rushing from one thing to the next. 5 minutes of breathing room between meetings can make the difference between feeling frazzled and feeling centered. Design your weekly architecture before worrying about daily details. What does an ideal week look like in terms of time allocation to your core values? How many hours do you want to spend on focused work versus meetings versus personal time? What rhythm of activity and rest feels sustainable? This weekly view helps you make better daily decisions because you can see the larger pattern you're creating rather than just responding to immediate demands. Include regular review periods in your architecture, weekly sessions where you assess how well your time choices served your priorities and what adjustments would improve alignment. This keeps your systems flexible and responsive rather than rigid and irrelevant. Remember that good architecture serves the inhabitants rather than constraining them. Your time structures should make your life feel more spacious and aligned, not more restricted and stressful. Foundation 4. Presence.
The final foundation transforms how you experience time itself by cultivating the ability to be fully present with whatever you're doing rather than constantly thinking about what's next or what you should be doing instead.
Most people spend very little time actually present in their current activity. Their bodies are doing one thing while their minds are planning future tasks, reviewing past conversations, or judging their current performance. This divided attention creates the subjective experience of time scarcity, even when you technically have plenty of time. Presence means bringing your full attention to your current activity, not because it's the most important thing you could be doing, but because it's what you're doing right now. This complete engagement transforms both the quality of your work and your satisfaction with how you spend time. When you're fully present with a task, you often complete it more quickly and effectively than when you're distracted or resistant. Paradoxically, slowing down your mental pace often speeds up your actual progress because you're not wasting energy on mental resistance or constant task switching. Presence also involves accepting the natural rhythms of work and rest, rather than trying to maintain constant productivity. Some periods require intense focus and output. Others need gentleness and restoration. Fighting against these natural cycles creates exhaustion and decreases overall effectiveness. Learn to recognize when you're forcing versus when you're flowing. Forcing feels effortful, resistant, and often produces lower quality results despite high energy expenditure. Flowing feels natural, engaging, and often produces excellent results with less effort. This doesn't mean avoiding challenging work or only doing what feels easy. It means distinguishing between productive challenge that grows your capabilities and counterproductive struggle that drains your energy without creating value. Cultivate what mindfulness teachers call temporal mindfulness, awareness of your relationship with time as it's happening. Notice when you feel rushed, behind, or anxious about time. Notice when you feel present, engaged, or like time is abundant. These internal states dramatically affect your experience of having enough time. You can be objectively busy, but feel relaxed and present. Or you can be objectively free, but feel rushed and stressed. Learning to recognize and shift these internal states gives you much more control over your experience than any external time management technique. Practice single tasking as a form of temporal meditation. When you're having a conversation, just have the conversation. When you're writing, just write. When you're walking, just walk. This focused attention often accomplishes more than divided attention while creating much greater satisfaction and presence. Presence also means accepting that you can't control external time, but you can completely transform your internal experience of time through the quality of attention you bring to each moment. The integration practice. Now that you understand the 4 foundations, here's how to integrate them into a personalized approach that will transform your relationship with time while honoring your unique circumstances and priorities. Begin with a comprehensive time audit using the awareness practices from Foundation 1. For 1 full week, track not just what you do, but how you feel while doing it. Note your energy levels, your engagement, your sense of presence or distraction. This data becomes the foundation for all future improvements. Look for patterns in this data. When do you naturally feel most energetic and focused? What activities consistently drain your energy versus fuel it? Where are you spending time that doesn't align with your stated priorities? What transitions or interruptions create the most stress?
Use this information to identify your prime time, the periods when you naturally have the most mental clarity and focused energy. These become sacred containers for your most important work. Everything else can be scheduled around these peak periods. Create your ideal weekly architecture by first allocating time to your core values and priorities. How much time does each of your most important areas deserve? What would ideal balance look like given your current life circumstances? This becomes your template for making daily decisions. Design specific time containers for different types of work, matching the container to both the activity requirements and your natural energy patterns. Create containers for deep work, administrative tasks, relationship time, physical care, and restoration. Protect these containers from interruption and context switching. Implement a weekly review practice where you assess how well your time choices served your priorities and well-being. What worked well? What felt misaligned? What adjustments would improve your experience next week? This keeps your approach flexible and responsive. Begin each day with a brief centering practice where you connect with your intentions and priorities rather than immediately diving into tasks. This might be 2 minutes of conscious breathing, reviewing your core values, or simply asking, what deserves my best attention today? This single practice can dramatically improve both your productivity and your satisfaction. End each day with a brief completion practice, acknowledging what you accomplished, releasing what didn't get done, and setting clear intentions for tomorrow. This creates closure and prevents unfinished tasks from disrupting your rest. Most importantly, remember that taking control of your time is an ongoing practice, rather than a problem to solve once. Your circumstances, priorities, and energy patterns will evolve, and your approach should evolve with them. The advanced principles. As you develop skill with the foundational practices, several advanced principles will help you maintain temporal mastery even during complex or challenging periods. Learn to distinguish between your constrained activities, things that must happen at specific times or in specific sequences, and your flexible activities that can adapt to available time and energy. Schedule constraints first, then fill flexible time with appropriate activities based on your current state. Develop what I call time resilience, the ability to maintain your sense of control and presence even when external circumstances disrupt your plans. This comes from having multiple pathways to accomplish important goals, rather than depending on rigid schedules. Create minimum viable versions of your most important practices that you can maintain even during busy or stressful periods. If your ideal morning routine is 45 minutes, what's the 10-minute version that maintains the essential benefits? Having these backup approaches prevents all-or-nothing thinking that leads to abandoning good practices entirely. Practice strategic procrastination by intentionally delaying low-priority tasks that often resolve themselves or become irrelevant over time. Not everything that seems urgent actually requires immediate action, and learning to distinguish true priorities from pseudo-emergencies is a crucial skill.
Develop energy accounting awareness, understanding that your time has different values depending on your energy state. An hour of work when you're fresh and focused is worth 3 hours when you're tired and distracted. Optimizing for energy rather than just time often produces better results with less total effort. Learn to work with your natural ultradian rhythms, the 90-120-minute cycles of peak focus, followed by natural restoration periods that occur throughout the day. Aligning your work containers with these natural cycles creates effortless productivity. Cultivate temporal boundaries, clear distinctions between different types of time that prevent work from bleeding into personal time or urgent tasks from consuming time allocated for important projects. These boundaries are internal agreements with yourself rather than external rules imposed by others. Master the art of conscious transitions. Brief practices between activities that help you shift mental and emotional states rather than carrying stress or distraction from one container to the next. This might be taking 3 conscious breaths, setting a clear intention, or simply pausing to arrive fully in the present moment. These advanced principles help you maintain temporal mastery even when life becomes complex or unpredictable, ensuring that your relationship with time continues to serve your highest priorities regardless of external circumstances. The complete transformation. As you develop mastery over these principles and practices, something profound happens that extends far beyond improved productivity or better organization. You begin to experience what I call temporal sovereignty, a deep sense of agency over how you spend your life that creates extraordinary freedom and fulfillment. This transformation touches every aspect of your existence. Your work becomes more focused and effective because you're investing your best energy in what matters most. Your relationships deepen because you're present and available rather than constantly distracted by competing priorities.
Your personal growth accelerates because you create consistent space for the activities that develop your capabilities and consciousness. Perhaps most importantly, you stop feeling like time is your enemy and start experiencing it as your ally. Instead of constantly running behind or feeling rushed, you develop a sense of having enough time for what truly matters. This isn't because you have more hours, but because you're using the hours you have more consciously and intentionally. You develop what researchers call temporal intelligence, the ability to recognize the natural timing for different activities and to work with time's rhythms rather than against them. This creates a sense of flow and ease that makes even challenging work feel engaging rather than exhausting. Your stress levels decrease dramatically because you're no longer trying to do everything or please everyone. You've developed clear criteria for what deserves your time and energy, which makes decision-making much simpler and reduces the internal conflict that comes from unclear priorities. You become more present in all your activities because you're not constantly thinking about what you should be doing instead. When you're working, you're fully engaged with work. When you're with loved ones, you're completely available to them. This presence enhances both your effectiveness and your enjoyment.
The quality of your choices improves because you're making decisions from clarity and intention rather than reaction and urgency. You begin to see time as an investment opportunity. Each moment is a chance to create value, meaning, or connection rather than just get through another task. You develop genuine confidence in your ability to handle whatever demands arise because you've created systems that can adapt to changing circumstances while maintaining focus on what matters most. This confidence reduces anxiety and allows you to approach challenges with curiosity rather than overwhelm. Most significantly, you begin to experience what philosophers call temporal authenticity, the feeling that your use of time genuinely reflects who you are and what you value rather than just responding to external pressures and expectations. Your days begin to feel like conscious creation rather than passive reaction. You're designing your experience rather than just surviving it. This shift from victim to creator in your relationship with time transforms your entire sense of personal power and life satisfaction. The deepest understanding about taking control of your time is that it's not really about time at all. It's about taking control of your life. Time is simply the medium through which you express your values, pursue your goals, and create your experiences. When you truly understand this, you realize that time management is actually life management. The principles and practices we've explored are really about designing a life that reflects your authentic priorities and allows you to show up as your best self in the areas that matter most. This perspective shift eliminates the common frustration people feel when time management techniques don't create lasting change. Surface-level tactics fail because they don't address the deeper questions of what kind of life you want to create and who you want to become through how you spend your time. True temporal mastery emerges from the integration of self-knowledge, clear values, intelligent systems, and present-moment awareness. When these elements work together, time becomes a tool for conscious living rather than a source of stress and struggle. You begin to see that every moment is an opportunity to express your highest values and move toward your most important goals. This doesn't mean every moment must be productive in a conventional sense, but rather that every moment can be intentional and aligned with what matters to you. Rest becomes as intentional as work. Play becomes as valuable as productivity. Presence becomes as important as progress. You develop a holistic relationship with time that honors all aspects of human experience rather than just a drive to achieve and accomplish. The ultimate goal isn't to control every minute, but to ensure that the sum of your minutes creates a life you feel proud of and satisfied with. When you master this art, you discover that time isn't scarce, it's abundant. You don't need more hours, you need more consciousness about how you use the hours you have. This consciousness transforms time from a limited resource you're always running out of into an infinite opportunity for creating meaning, value, and connection. And from that perspective, you have all the time in the world to become who you want to become and create the life you want to live. Taking control of your time is ultimately about taking control of your choices, your attention, and your energy in service of what matters most to you. When you master this, you don't just manage time better, you live better. And that makes all the difference between existing and truly living.